Welcome everybody to IMAGI-NATION TV, and this week we're looking at the topic of listening. And look, I wanted to throw to the chat line to start with a simple topic. I want to know the time in your life when you've been a brat and when you know you're doing the wrong, you know you're not listening, and you still continue that way whilst you feel like you should be listening to what's happening. Now, I'm a reformed brat. I spent my life terrorizing teachers and then flipped the script a little bit and started AIME when I was 19 and said, oh, well, let's just be a mentor. And then I've been forced to try and work out how to be a decent person by putting a mentor badge over my head over the course of the last 16 years. And I'm often having this internal fight between wanting to just break all rules and never listen to anybody and logically knowing that I totally should be listening because the advice is good. And then there's some sort of fusion of pride and ego and stuff at play inside of me, which just wants to reject the person and doesn't want to ever say, I'm sorry. And yeah, I think that energy force is significant for the brats of the world. So please share your brat stories with me when you know you should have listened, but you continue to do the action anyway. And then your process of being able to go back to the people around you and say, hey, I know I should have listened. And then you have that cloak of shame for a little bit of period of time. And then we move on with life, having picked ourselves back up off the floor. Today, we've got our guests gathering with us for the designers segment. And I'm pumped to be able to move into how do we design around listening? How do we design the worlds that we're looking at? How do we enter a world with a problem-solving framework that anything can be solved, that problems can be met, and that we can come up with any number of solutions. And in our world, we think imagination is the key cornerstone to kickstarting that process of design. Before we move into it, we're going to talk a little bit about This Hoodie Pays Rent, which is a design we've been working on over the last 3 weeks, 6 days, 9 days. I don't know. Someone on the chat line, tell me how long we've been doing it for. And we started it because 2 million odd Australians were struggling to be able to pay rent. And we thought we didn't want to just sell a normal AIME hoodie during this time. So we carved out 50% of the hoodie, the front section, to being able to help people pay rent, and 50% of the hoodie to help mentor kids. So the deal is that you can register as a hoodie connector, and then you'll get $30 from every hoodie that you then sell with your specific code onto your friends, family, or as far as you can and wide as you can sell it. Now, one of the challenges we've had is we went, all right, let's design this. Let's work it out in a week, get it printed, get the costs sorted, try and work out how to get people applying. And then we hit a challenge along the way, which is that you get taxed on income. So we've had to work out ways to support people through PayPal and through other services. We've had to work out the issues with fraud. So there's all of these system-based challenges as you go to get an idea live. So we're ironing out those kinks, and thank you to all the hoodie connectors who are being patient working through that process. And as we establish this, we're hoping that not just during the times of COVID-19, but This Hoodie Pays Rent becomes a supportive social enterprise tool for anybody who's struggling to pay rent, anybody who's struggling to get income for the next 20, 30, 40 years. So today we're going to jump into a quick video and then catch up with a couple of people who have either purchased a hoodie or have registered as a hoodie connector with us. Shayaka on the chat line said, almost all my childhood throughout my teens into my early 20s, I never listened. All I wanted to do was to do the opposite. Hey, Shayaka, what made you listen? Give us a response on the chat line. We've got Max here. Max has purchased one of these This Hoodie Pays Rent hoodies. And disclaimer, Max, if you haven't bought the white one, we have gone for like this funky marble vintage wash, and hopefully you think that's cool. And unfortunately, one person bought one and then thought we'd just made an old hoodie and that we'd done this really disgusting print. But maybe, hopefully you like it. Hey, why did you buy a hoodie and why did you want to be a part of it?
Yeah, awesome. So I ended up getting one of the black hoodies, and one of the main reasons why I bought it is because of the things that I'm really grateful for. So first of all, I was a mentor for AIME, so already a really big supporter of what you guys do, but reflecting on my own life and everything I've been through is that I don't think I know that I wouldn't have been able to get through that without the help of other people and those surrounding me, lending a hand and, just showing real kindness without expectation of anything in return. And I see exactly that reflected in AIME, and that's the reason why I continue to support AIME and will continue to support AIME.
Oh, thanks, Cuz. Well, yeah, without people like you, we're just a very small group of people who are screaming from the rooftops about trying to create change. And I think it's when we all take that collective responsibility individually to go, yeah, I'm gonna act. We had a guy come on the show a few weeks ago named Damien Gameau, who made a film called 2040, and he also made a film called That Sugar Film. And Damon said, before making 2040, he was reading a newspaper, and he came across an article about climate change challenges, and he was like, oh, that sucks. And he turned the page. He went, hang on a minute, I care about this. And he went back to the page, looked at it, and said, right, I'm going to act now, and I'm going to do something. That led to him creating this feature film, which is, creating a lot of change and inspiring a lot of people around the world and a lot of kids. So thank you for being a person that just stopped on the page and said, yeah, I'm going to act right now. And if we do that again and again, that's what builds, real significant currencies for change. So good on you, mate. Thanks for being a part of it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, we're 50-50 split here, of 50 going to, helping out people for rent. I think, honestly, a lot of us walk past the streets, especially in the big cities now, when we see a massive, abundance of homelessness. Every time we walk past, a lot of people, they either, chuck a couple of dollars in, or majority of people just walk right past and they say to somebody, oh, isn't that sad? But they do have an opportunity to make a change, even if it's a small change in that person's life. But then there is, just that little bit of fear stopping us from going out and lending a hand. So I think what AIME's doing here is, giving the everyday bloke an opportunity to just go and make a difference there.
Awesome. Thanks, Max. Thanks for joining us. Jack, why did you grab one of these hoodies?
Yeah, a bit similar to Max. I'm out here at Dubbo at the moment, just away from my family and away from where I grew up. And I'm a Wiradjuri man, but I grew up in Darrell country, so it's quite a fair way from what I call home. And felt a bit helpless, couldn't be around family and community and stuff. So I actually got an email from you guys, from the program director down in Wollongong, because I was a mentor down there a few years back, and had this pop up, and I thought, I'll absolutely jump on board and support AIME, because I've seen the benefits firsthand, and I thought, this is my little way of trying to contribute to community from distance. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for being a part of it, and I'm hoping that not just the work that we're doing as a small group, hopefully a small group that can create a lot of change, but we're talking to a lot of leaders in fashion and around Australia and around the world about saying, well, what does the future of commerce look like? Do we require our main brands to have a key social enterprise function to their work? If we're going to do it, and we're already, I'd say, for the most part, doing good work with mentoring kids, if we're then going to turbocharge even more to provide, even more social enterprise support with flipping half of the proceeds of what we raise, what are the Nikes of the world doing? What are the big picture brands and luxury brands going to do commercially? What are we asking as customers of the brands that we buy day in, day out, around profits and around proceeds and around building this fairer world? And I think if we can build that culture, we could start to see really significant change economically. So thanks, Jack, for putting your hard-earned cash forward to help out other people and being such a good supporter of spreading kindness around the world.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Hey, Sam, tell me, you'd have registered as a hoodie connector, and then you've decided that you're going to donate all of the money that you receive from the fee for the Hoodie Pays Rent back to people who are struggling to pay rent as well. Tell me what made you want to apply and be a part of this, and then kick the proceeds back and roll up your sleeves a bit more?
Yeah, I've done some work for AIME in the past. I've done some fundraising stuff for them down at Wollongong with Brendan Newton. And I just feel that it's a pretty good cause, and it's just about helping a good cause that I think really deserves to have some more help, not just from the people but from the government as well. just having people that I like the idea of there are people out there that truly don't believe that they can go on to higher education, and that's something that I think is really sad. And I think that that's something that should be fixed just nationwide. And so I'm happy just to help out where I can, to spread the word where I can, and just just do what I can just to help a good cause like AIME.
Good on you, Sam. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Jack. And thanks, Max, for joining us on the show and being a part of today. And feel free to jump on the chat line. I'm sure the guys are going to give you a bunch of love. Shayaka has responded to the question saying, realizing not listening wasn't changing any of the things that I was mad about is what tipped me off to try out this thing called listening. I love that. Jess Daniel, I was a brat my last year of high school and because of it failed. Good thing you've embraced failure time at AIME now, Jess. So I listened to my dad, went and got a teaching degree and taught brats like me for 13 years to listen to your teachers. Arpan says, my brat story, the only instance I had an argument with my dad when I was 12, regretted that as karma came back to bite me, and I've never repeated such mistakes since. Arpan, I bet that my mum, if she was listening to this, wishes she had you as a kid, because I did not learn that quickly. Okay, let's get ready to go on our design panel. I think we have a video to introduce us to get us going. Tanika Davis, thank you for joining us today on IMAGI-NATION TV as we kick around the idea of listening. What does a world of designing and listening mean when you think about those two words put together?
Hi, Jack. Thank you so much for having me. It's quite funny because I feel like we interpret listening so differently. And I suppose for me personally, listening has to come from within and it's not taught. So, explaining to people that everyone's listening and everyone's journey is very different, I suppose.
We've got a comment from the chat line from Rianne Miller saying, so excited to hear you speak today, Tanika. You're an incredible mentor to me in high school. It's been so cool to see your journey with the IM movement. Tell us a bit about your...
I started off, obviously I'm a mum, and the IM movement started from an idea I had in my lounge room pretty much around our son was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder quite early. So he was 18 months old when we got a formal diagnosis, and we're really happy that we got that diagnosis early. And we started a lot of our intervention early. So looking at things like our speech, his speech pathologist and OT, and educators as well. So I think it's really important that we started that process, given, it was such a hard and difficult time to accept that Slade has autism spectrum disorder. So whilst we were doing all of our therapy, we saw this kind of gap in terms of feeling culturally safe to anything in terms of a therapy. There was so much information out there around what autism was, but there was nothing to kind of feel culturally safe to. So that's when, my passion for Indigenous health promotion and being a passionate mum who just wants to help people in my shoes merged together, and the IM movement started. We commissioned some artists to develop sets of visuals for Slade, and it was quite selfish of us just to keep it as our own kind of thing in our own living room. So we decided to then give the opportunity to other people to purchase these sets of cards. So 10 months into the business, we launched in NAIDOC week last year, and it was quite a process coming from I had no idea about business. So it was awesome. It was an awesome but stressful journey. We now provide visuals that are culturally safe for, you know, people with autism, or just anyone really, like anyone, for educators, therapists. And they can be used quite in a versatile way too. So I'm very proud to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's fascinating when you crack a code which hasn't necessarily been cracked before. And for a lot of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in Australia, a lot of kids outside the mainstream in Australia, whether you've recently migrated kids, refugee kids, kids with learning challenges, different kids who have not been told that they fit into a system via a number of different historical challenges which we've seen with government and colonisation both in Australia and around the world. When you crack a code for some of those kids or groups outside the margins, it actually has a pretty good through line all the way through when you can find something that's deeply human that works. Part of the challenge with mainstream design is that it sort of designs for a centre, you know, which has been an established group. Charlotte, when you've gone into design and done your work, how have you navigated the desire to go into new fields, to explore and excite different people, versus, I suppose, repeating what's already been done? What's your mindset when you get a design challenge? And tell us a little bit about your story as we lead into thinking about your process for trying to create something new and the way you try and get that to come to life.
Sure. Hi. Well, thanks so much for having me, firstly. Absolute pleasure to be a part of this. Look, I started my business and my brand kind of as a little bit of a revolt to the system. Funny you mentioned the thing about being a little bit of a brat before. I think for me, I really wanted to kind of just, you know, get rid of some of the shackles that I'd felt were very much kind of constraining me as a designer. And having worked in the industry for like 10 years for big fashion brands, I felt like I was really very much a part of the pace. And without sounding, I learnt a lot. So without sounding ungrateful, perhaps not necessarily part of the solution, but a little bit more part of the problem. So I really wanted to start something that was, more than just about clothes, more than just about fashion, but something that actually kind of went against the grain. So took the leap and started SA Studios. That was very much about kind of applying everything that I know and that I love about what I do, and then sort of taking it into kind of new frontiers and questioning and challenging what was sort of wrong with the status quo, and potentially presenting some solutions, or kind of, if not presenting solutions, but sort of inviting people to come on my journey as I unravel and unpack and kind of like work out what works and try and find a better way of doing things. It might not be the perfect way, but at least attempt to try to be part of the solution.
I think that's one of the fascinating conundrums from, like, there's so much empathy when people have gone into trying to design things amongst a collective of people who are like, okay, well, if you're trying to tackle a problem, we are never, ever, ever going to find a perfect solution for it. But what artists and people with imagination and designers, and I say broadly creators, do for humankind is they go beyond. We all go out into places, deep into the ocean, and our dreams are occupied by formulas and ideas which we're trying to put together and disparate things, and you can't sleep, and it fills your body, and it's always inside you, and you're taking everything in, and it's madness. It's absolute chaos when you open up that creative space and that creative thinking, and you try
Pandora's box.
and you leave the box, and that's the gift of what we're doing in that space. I think one of the things which are the empathy on both sides is, I think for designers and all creators, I have the greatest empathy, and I don't want to ever cast any judgment on whether it's good or bad, whether it's right or wrong. I'm fascinated by the process. I'm fascinated by the outcome. I'm fascinated by why they're doing what they're doing. And then I think once you look at that, you can then weigh it up logically and go, okay, well, perhaps there's some challenges with the design function of what that group are doing, because the social outcome isn't necessarily that positive. And let's look at how we can change that. But we can be pragmatic at looking at the souls around things. Andy, when you do your work, how the heck do you get people that you're working with to trust you and to trust some of your ideas as you're trying to take designs and thinking and connect with people to then build on that. So tell us a little bit about what you do and how you try and build trust through design. I'm fascinated in that.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks very much for having me. Firstly, I'm a sport engineer and I work at the Australian Institute of Sport. Since I've been in this role, almost everyone that I've met who I tell that I'm a sports engineer ask, how the heck, can you be an engineer involved in sport? What could you possibly do? So put simply, we design equipment solutions that are customized for individual athletes. So we design and produce components that aren't available commercially for athletes. Most of our stakeholders are in the Paralympic scene. So they require quite unique equipment solutions. And as you say, developing trust between us and the athletes is really, really important. And listening is such an integral part of that. So listening to what their needs are, their problems, understanding their perspective is really the crucial first step in being able to design the best solution you can for them.
Can you take me into an example of working with an athlete and where do you start? Is it with a piece of paper and a pencil, or like what's your first interaction? You've got someone who's trying to win gold in the Paralympics who's in your hands to work with you, and you sit down. Where do you start? What's your first question with them?
Almost always the first starting point is understanding what the problem is and understanding how the athlete is involved with the problem. That can take quite a bit of time. Sometimes the problem is a human interface type problem where their contact with your equipment or the way that they exert themselves in the sport could be an issue. It could be a physiological issue with the athlete and their equipment. So a lot of talking, a lot of discussion to allow ourselves to get inside the athlete's head and understand exactly what the problem is.
Yeah, I'd love to know when it doesn't work as well. So we might come back to that in a little bit. Tanika, when you're designing so close to home, one of the things I've found so hard with AIME over the years is being Aboriginal myself. This is so close to home. And when you get it right, it sort of feels like you're in absolute unison with the universe. And then sometimes when you might not get it right, it not only is an idea that you put out there, it's like you feel like your personality's been attacked and your whole history and your credibility and your whole life, and you want to bury yourself under a pillow. How have you gone about navigating that experience with the diagnosis of a youngster and then going, all right, this is how we're going to move the information that we've been given, and then this is how we're going to design a different way of operating. How have you done that in your mind and approach designing when it's so close to home?
Yeah, I think a lot of what you just said resonated with me daily. I think because you are putting yourself out there in such a vulnerable state, and because it is something that's really close to home, I think for me personally, the only thing that I wanted to get out was to feel, that sense of pride when I'm telling our story. And I think naturally Indigenous people, we're all storytellers, and we do have a voice. And I think that's the most important thing, is to recognise that our stories need to be heard. And, it doesn't matter if they're good or bad. They need to be heard in a way that's positive. So I think for us, that stage of denial, that was probably the first stage where you kind of have to, shoot through that hoop, and then you've got this like inundated feeling of guilt and like, why me, and why, our whole life is turned upside down. And because autism is not necessarily a physical disability, it's definitely a hidden disability, and a lot of people don't quite understand what autism is. And it's a lifelong disability, and the only thing that really helps with that is the tools to give to the children at a young age. And once you're through that denial and kind of guilt and that you still have those overwhelming feelings. But for me, I put it all back into helping other people. And, you know, what better way to tell our story and tell it so rawly that, you know, people do understand. And, you know, through our discussions just on our social media or things that we share, we're very grateful that, you know, families have come back to us and said, you know, oh, like we had a diagnosis, you know, a couple of weeks ago and we haven't been able to feel like we're able to get to that next step. And I suppose, you know, getting through that hurdle of NDIS and filling out all of those forms to even access therapy, it's stressful. And I really take my hat off to, sorry, there's a train passing by right now.
I'm sorry, we can't stop the trains. The planes have stopped.
Sorry. So I think, yeah, like for us, it's a really powerful way to get people on board, to be open enough to share their story. We're actually launching a podcast in NAIDOC week this year, so that's our next phase. So everyone, please follow our journey on that podcast, because we've got, you know, other families talking about their journey with having a son or daughter with autism. We've got medical professionals, we've got OTs, speeches. Yeah, so, you know, you name it. We've actually got a young boy with autism going to, you know, share his voice as a first person. I suppose, you know, that's the beauty of it. I've created a space where it's culturally safe, and it's safe for people to share their stories how they want it to be heard.
Yeah, it's cool as to come out of a place which you may never, for many, they may never have left the denial stage, and then to move through that guilt stage into power and agency. That, you know, it's a reasonably similar story arc on a different scale of what Mandela went through. As you have to go through your sort of anger, you go through your frustration, you get put into this place for, you know, you fight back, and then you're in a place in prison for 27 years. And then you think so deeply about the whole system and what you can do, and then come out with power and intellect and ideas. And that's what I find fascinating when we talk about trying to design solutions to raise out of inequality, to get out of the being at the bottom of the barrel. It's through ideas. It's through trying to work through those phases to then acting and having ideas and having solutions. And yeah, I think it's been I just think it's really impressive what you've done, and all power to you. And it can't have been easy. So thank you for being a person that's acted and walked through that process. Charlotte, can you tell me what it feels like just when you make something that you just think is cool and that people are going to connect to? When you make something, you're like, oh, I think this is actually going to work, and you have that feeling. Do you have anyone to share that with? And does anyone ever actually get it? Or is it always just this moment where you're like, I made something really cool and I don't know if anyone's ever going to get it? How do you celebrate that moment of creating something you think special that you're excited about?
Oh, that's such a good question. Look, I mean, there's definitely, it's why you do what you do. I definitely, especially at the moment, have had some time to reflect. And, you know, it really is that the whole idea of having something in your head and then turning it into something that's three-dimensional is, you know, is incredible in general to be able to do that. So you definitely have a little celebratory moment to yourself, I think, when you kind of sketch something or like concept something in your head. You definitely have a little bit of a, oh my God, I think I've done it. I think I've cracked the code, as you said. And it's so intuitive and instinctual, and, you know, you got to really listen to your gut on that. So that's kind of like the first little bit of, I suppose, personal satisfaction or a little bit of validation.
Well, it's a big moment, that one, which I wanted to sit a little bit and go to Andy. Like, how do you actually, when you do that sketch, how do you have that connection to yourself enough to listen to yourself to go, actually, stop. There's an idea there. Andy, when you find an idea or a solution, what have you trained in your body and your mind to be able to catch that, to listen to yourself? How have you got yourself in a place where you can be sketching and just go, oh, that's it, and then take it off and put it in a production?
Wow, that's a tough question. Thank you. I guess I've learned to, along with the theme of listening, is not be so selfish in the way I design, and don't let my designs be ego-driven, because I'm providing a design and engineering service for someone else, another stakeholder. So it's really important for me that we deliver something for that person. It's what I get out of it is the satisfaction of them giving us, our team, the feedback that what we've delivered enables them to be comfortable or happy or successful. So not being selfish is probably what I've learnt that I need to do in my design directions.
Yeah, that's huge. Hey, Tanika, Charlotte, Andy, have you got any questions for each other?
I do for Charlotte.
Oh yeah.
Where do you get your inspiration from? Is it from within or is it external?
I mean, kind of probably to your point, just there. I mean, such a large part of it is feeling kind of inspired by, the people you're designing for. Yes, sometimes it's a little bit more hedonistic, or it's a little bit more driven by something a little bit more. I mean, I don't want to use the word indulgent, but at the end of the day, it's still a solution to a problem, and you still want to make someone feel great when they put it on, put a piece of clothing on. So I definitely draw inspiration from the women I'm designing for and how I want them to feel. And so that's definitely one part of it, but and obviously that's definitely the more solution focused part of what I do. But absolutely, it's sort of everything around me, from my cultural inspirations, be it art or music, or a feeling, or escapism, or whatever it might be. It's kind of just a big melting pot of all those things. And I think it's kind of that beautiful moment we sort of spoke about, was when you really feel like you've got all those pieces kind of working in a harmonious way, ticking all those boxes sort of internally. And that's that gut feeling that you're going to go, oh, okay, I think I've kind of put all the pieces together. But yeah.
Tanika, have you got anything that you want to ask ask Charlotte or ask Andy?
No, I'm in awe of you guys, and we're all designing in some sort of way, and so it's really it's refreshing in this time, I suppose, to hear from people that are still doing things in the world, and so grateful to meet you guys both.
Yeah, likewise, Tanika.
Yeah, definitely. Likewise. I mean, what you guys are both doing is absolutely incredible and inspiring, just to listen to different design processes, and inspiring to listen to different sort of problems that we're all designing and solving solutions to. So yeah, super inspiring. So thanks, guys.
Well, let's finish on super inspiring, because that's the goal of Imagination TV. Tanika, Charlotte, Andy, thank you for joining us on the designers panel. If there's any way we can work together, we'd love to be a part of it, and keep working on how we can create a fairer world together, whether it's working on collabs, or maybe we can design a bicycle together. I don't know. Or get some.
I'm going to hold you to that, Jack.
Yeah, put us in that. So no, every time.
I want tracksuit pants to go with them.
You make them.
I'll do it.
We'll raise the funds. We're done. I've been looking for some tracksuit pants for a while.
Yeah, so I want a whole thing.
Done. Tick that off. Andy, have you got anything that we can do together? What do you think? We design the new Olympic velodrome or something for some kids.
No, that's great. I just want to say thank you for letting me be a part of this today.
Right, pleasure. Thank you all for all your work. Thanks for creating a fairer world and working towards trying to create some change. And definitely, let's try and I think one of the things that I want to make sure we keep doing in this stratosphere of AIME is every time we say we're going to do something, we walk the talk. So every moment we connect, we get the chance to create something even more special, and keep trying to rebalance this ledger that currently sees so much inequality, so many kids left behind, and this has never been a I don't think there's ever been a more important moment in modern history that I can remember since I've been alive, for a chance for us to try and reorder and reorganize some things. So let's give that a crack and keep moving ahead. Thank you all for joining us. Some comments from the chat line. Hello, Charlotte. Helen Caldwell from Winona here. Well done. I think what you've done is amazing. Awesome to have you on the show. Madison Leonard, sometimes you need to listen to what isn't being said. Some similar to reading between the lines. Sometimes we need to listen with our eyes and truly see what it is they are trying to say. And Bobby Cunningham, admiration of each other gives even more motivation. Great to see that. Thanks from everybody. And then Standby Empire saying, a super inspiring panel today. Thanks so much to you all. All right, Liam, have we got you there?
Yeah, I'm here. How you going?
Hey, welcome to IMAGI-NATION TV. I've got the privilege of being able to work with you day in, day out at AIME, and it's such a joy to create with you, because you just bring a smile and colour and life into the design process. Today we've got you taking on the design challenge in real time, which is designing a custom certificate for both of Hope's design winners today. So how are you feeling? Have you started a sketch so far, or?
Yeah, I've been sort of scribbling away. I couldn't sort of wait to get started, so I've scribbled lots of stuff down. I don't know if you want me to show you.
Let's have a quick look, and then we'll jump into the video and we'll get Hope onto the show.
Well, I had this scrap piece of orange painted paper, so I thought I'd use that. I've been trying to use lots of bits and pieces, and I had some pencils which I haven't used since I was a little kid, so it was super fun just to scribble away while you guys are talking.
Very, very cool. Okay, well, we'll jump to a quick introduction video for Hope's Design Awards, and Liam may have just shown you who's going to win it this week, which we're pumped to be able to reveal as well. So here comes the vid.
Just doing a little bit of typing to Charisse, just to check that the chat can come to me now. Ah, yes. Thanks, Charisse. Hi, I'm Hope. Liam, I love what you've done. I think it looks fantastic.
Thanks, Hope. Cheers.
Yeah, and thanks to Vanessa who made me. Good on you, Vanessa. You're fantastic. Okay, we're going to get into the Lifetime Achievement Awards, and a special shout out to Jacob Trindorfer. Jakey, you've done an amazing job creating this video to celebrate our Lifetime Achievement Award. So really excited to have that video play in a second. Okay, the Lifetime Achievement Award goes to David Uniapon. This week, in the Lifetime category, we're honouring Indigenous inventor, writer and educator David Uniapon. Uniapon paved the way for Indigenous excellence to shine by breaking out of the mould that constrained Aboriginal people. He made significant contributions to science and literature and used his uniquely influential position to bring about change in government policy and create better conditions for Aboriginal people. Born in 1972, Uniapon was a Ngarindji man and a Yarraldi speaker from the Lower Murray region. He is widely reported to have made predictions about the development of polarised light and helicopter flight, which at the time had not been invented. He even applied the principles of the boomerang to early designs of the helicopter. By 1944, Uniapon had patented 9 inventions, among them an improved hand tool for shearing sheep, a centrifugal motor, a multi-radial wheel, and a mechanical propulsion device. He spent much of his life seeking to unlock the secrets of perpetual motion. However, Uniapon struggled to secure financial backing to bring his designs into fruition. He is the first Aboriginal writer to be published and travel widely, lecturing and sharing knowledge and preserving Aboriginal story. He features on the Australian $50 bill today, and Uniapon remains a revolutionary figure amongst the rich and diverse history of all Australians, and he is an Indigenous genius, he's an Australian genius, and he is a global genius. It is our privilege and honour to today provide the award for David Uniapon. Liam, have you got his certificate that you've created? Awesome. And today we're going to do 2 for the price of 1. So we're going to do on the same certificate, the Future Award. Let's get into it. And Atlanta Lloyd said, yeah, Jake, Yeah. And Lisa said, yeah, Jakey. And Parul said, wow, greatness indeed. I agree with all of you. This week's Future Award goes to Abdul Hadi Jalab and Harith Omar from Qatar, 2 youngsters who use science and imagination to treat diabetes. Diabetes is a disease that affects 422 million people globally. For some, it can cause numerous complications and even be life-threatening. That's why Abdul Hadi and Harith developed their projects to alleviate pain and infection for people whose diabetes had spread to their arms and their legs. Their idea was to combine nanoparticles and socks and make a wearable treatment. Wow! First, they created nanoparticles by combining silver nitrate, this is amazing, with Eureka sativa plant extract. I don't even know what that is. That's unbelievable. Wow, check out these guys. And the results in the testing phase, the nanoparticles are being used to dress the wound of an infected individual. They had great results in the testing phase. Wow, this is a lot that they've achieved. In 2019, Abdul Hadi and Harith took their idea all the way to the International Science and Engineering Fair. Their design got loads of traction, and now they move off to the next stage of rigorous testing. Go get them, you two. Ensuring nanoparticle socks can be worn by people who have diabetes so they can receive simple and effective pain relief treatment. Oh, it's fantastic. Liam, well done on your wonderful certificate that you've created during the course of this show. And thank you, everybody, for being a part of Imagination TV today. I'm Hope, and it's been a pleasure hanging out with you, and we'll catch you all tomorrow for the keynote Cancel Not Cancel segment on Imagination TV. Bye, everyone.